All right, hi everybody. This is the Venus Project UK, the TVP Magazine episode, issue 1. We're talking about the Research Centre and Future by Design and the tours that they do at Venus, Florida. So what are we on, pages 26 to 34. Go to the Venus Project Magazine and go and read up, and then it all makes sense. So we got some questions from reading that, and then we'll go into some more, probably a wider discussion. So, Mick, do you want to go first?
Yeah, when we were watching the video about how they constructed the Venus Project in Florida, Ellie just noticed the seats that Jacques was sitting on. So is the outside of the dome concrete, and then some of the furniture also concrete, is what she was asking. Or do they use like other materials for like the seating and the kitchen area, etc.? And also, is like hempcrete going to be involved? Or?
Yeah, probably in terms of that. If all the internet says about it is true, then then yes, hempcrete might be better than concrete. I haven't looked into it. The question about the interior, I would think, on the interior, it's whatever goes, whatever material is best used at the time. They don't really want things to be, say, permanent. They want things to be movable, and then put back and recycled. So I wouldn't think lumping like a heavy concrete base on a sofa would make sense. It's just kind of the exterior, I would believe. And the way that they did the interior is down to their kind of personal aesthetic, I guess, and the functionality that they need. All right, I guess that one's answered, unless anyone else wants to chime in with something. In terms of the actual question, Mick, that you put down, I don't know what materials they used. So, Nick, do you want to go?
Yeah, I just wondered if we could have one in the UK. Because the Venus Project in Florida, it's lovely. I wondered if there was a possibility to have a UK show home, so to speak. I understand the problems with actually having the space, and the manpower to create such a thing. But I wondered if it was a feasible thing, because obviously Jack and Roxanne do the tours there in Florida, but is it not possible to have show homes, so to speak, elsewhere in the world, and have other volunteers do tours there?
No one wants to take this one? Because if you don't, then I'll start talking.
Please do this.
Alright. I know the official side exists in the TVP online seminar, literally called Building TVP City Now. In there, multiple people ask Fresco sort of, where could you move? What's the next step? Could we build a similar research center? Shit like that. So, your question is, sure. If you want to, if there's land, if you got the means, if you spoke to Roxanne directly, and you're all best buddies and, all good shit, then by all means go ahead. There's no barriers preventing you from inquiring. If there's genuine interest, pursue it with all you've got. The only sort of rationale that I heard Roxanne bring about is essentially that, first, all the stuff that we marvel at or don't, depending on your preferences, in Venus, in Florida, was built by hand. And I mean, it took them a long fucking time. So basically, you're talking about intensive labor, which, again, depending on whether or not you're open to that or not, that should factor into if you even want to pursue this further. If you do, and the next step is really just figuring out all the very, very minute details. Is there straight up enough resources, and for what? That's the thing too. Like how many people, shit like that. What's the tech you want to use there? Because if you're saying it's a show home, then maybe I should stop talking now and just ask you further, Nick. So show home for just as aesthetics, and then people getting the tour, or do you mean sort of tech and look how wonderful solar panels?
No, I just as doing my homework today, and watching a video and reading the bits, it occurred to me that one of the many purposes of what exists in Florida, is to show people a little bit of what it could be like and raise awareness. And despite myself not having the land, the resources, etc., to do such a thing, it occurred to me that if there were other areas on the planet where people could visit, if there was a show home, and I use the term show home, in my usual facetious way, but if there was a show home in the UK, I could go and see that, whereas I can't get to Florida. So I wanted to inquire as as things become closer, and awareness is being raised and more interest is being shown globally, if there was in fact the potential to have more areas like TVP Florida cropping up elsewhere on the planet, really. It was a quite generic, entry-level question as opposed to I'd like to build one, sort of level, but I your answer was, answered my question essentially.
No, I know you said your question's answered. Okay. I would say that basically, from their point of view, I think at the moment they see, okay, we've done it. They've seen the amount of hard work and stuff that's gone into it. What can we do that's a bit easier next? Major motion picture. Yeah, it's not easier, but that gets more exposure for less input. Basically, probably that's the kind of thing they're going from. And then, yeah, the idea is the theme park, or whatever you want to call it, that's not going to be in Venus. That's going to be somewhere else. So, yeah, why not? In terms of us personally, like a group, any TVP activism group getting together, trying to make something like this, the advice from Jacques and Roxanne would be don't do it. Basically, going from based on what Ludus has just said there, roughly, like, it's not worth it at the time. Now, they wouldn't stop you doing it, but reaching some sort of official status as a real TVP kind of outlet, that would be very, very hard. I've seen actual, I think I was kind of taken in by the proposal that a friend of mine who was a POC in the US kind of put forth, and he just couldn't get official status, and I don't know why. I don't know what, he wouldn't tell me the real reason. But, it would need to be really kind of strict on exactly what they want it to be, because it's their thing, not our thing, if you want it to be official. It's a tough line. It's kind of...
The question's answered even more now, Aidan.
All right, sorry for kind of...
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Dwelling on it. Johnny says, what's this? I don't see a topic having been decided for the coming hangout. Generally, where should I look for the info in order to be present? Okay, good question. We'll go back to some general stuff about the things. So we kind of do alternating weeks. So next week is actually an activism hangout. In that, we will be discussing like our ongoing projects we have, and so there probably isn't too much homework for that, but we'll get there and we'll maybe assign some tasks or things like that. I'm a little bit out of the loop with where we are with the project we're doing at the moment, which is getting books into a library. But that will be explained next week, and so there's no actual homework for next week as such. And then, oh dear, the schedule runs out. I need to populate the schedule further. I only got this far. So that's basically that explained, and I will make a little note to myself to do that next bit. In terms of, actually guys, just a question as we're basically at the end of our TVP magazine kind of section that I've already split up. Is the amount that we're reading okay? Too much? Too little? Let's say hands in the air for it's okay. Hands in the air for it's too much and too little. Okay, so...
No, that seems odd that I got my hand in the air for too little when I haven't actually done it this week. But
that's fine.
It will become too little for me when I've done my other things.
Yeah, I feel I might just get an extra couple pages for the next batch of Hangouts. But we'll see how that goes. Hey Andy, thanks for coming.
I feel it, obviously, like as you are well aware, that it depends on what the content of the pages are. You know, some weeks it feels like there is too little. Sometimes, you know, it's a little bit more there, you know. So
yeah, I'll try and put a bit more kind of thought into how I'm splitting it up to try and get it more consistent to about 10 minutes worth of reading. Lewis?
Yeah, Nick was really quite insightful with that little perspective because, I mean, I remember sometimes people come up with only 3 questions. Those 3 questions carry us through the hour, you know. So, so I agree with that notion that it really does depend on the context. And actually, not even that. Maybe people are just tired, and we could be talking about the most fascinating cybernetics, blah, 3D reality, all shit. But people are just fucking tired, you know. So I don't know. I don't know how to judge. You know?
Cool. Alright, thanks everyone. I'll take all that on board and I'll do like another couple months and we'll see where we are again. Cool. So I know that I'm basically the next person who needs to ask a question, but I need to step away from the keyboard for 2 minutes. So if anyone wants to raise anything or any questions, I'll be back in a sec.
Shall we move on to the harder questions?
Yeah, well, this is a bizarre little gap, so I don't know, maybe let's do that. When Aiden returns, he can ask his stuff, and maybe we'll reiterate whatever harder questions he didn't hear.
Yeah, so the first one is, what is the purpose of the research centre? Does anybody want to go at that?
Alright, this is shit. Yeah, let's hear Andy, let's hear Johnny, let's hear Nick, let's hear Steven. Andy, what you got?
Research. I don't know. Well, I think it seems like because we need to do things, I suppose that's the place to do it, isn't it? So you need a research centre for all that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer this, to be honest, but it seems a bit obvious, really, that we need that sort of thing because how else are you going to put your ideas to test and stuff, and especially when it's a scientific sort of thing in the Venus project. So that's this sort of way of doing things in it scientifically, and to research and sort of come up with ideas.
Okay, Steven?
For me, as far as I understand, the word research centre is fairly misleading, and it might be that my okay, it is because it's more like a planning centre and a place as a vehicle for discussion. So, like when Nick was talking about making something, it'd be more to feel like you would go there because you could go and talk about the stuff in a porta cabin, but people wouldn't like, oh yeah, here we are talking about something futuristic and getting all involved in it. Like if you wanted to talk about something to do with space, you go into a space center when there's all space stuff around you and everyone gets into that kind of mood. So they've got this place where it's going to look something like this, probably could do, but it gets people in a kind of the zone to start talking about it, gets them a bit excited. And then the people that are there living there all the time can plan. And yeah, but I don't know, research, more worthwhile research would be done by people who have the facilities, £1 million microscopes and different bits and bobs that they just can't afford. There's no way they can have access to that kind of research.
Fucking hell, dude, you nailed it. I'm not kidding either, not trying to be some fucking asshole, you know? That was very, very apt. And also, Andy, I hope that doesn't sort of put your expectations somewhere in a ditch.
No, I think it was good. Yeah, it was a good point, to be honest. I was just surprised. Yeah. I didn't have much prepared there, so yeah.
Cool, thanks, Lewis. That is a good segue because actually I have a question out of my harder questions, which is kind of similar. So we know it's not a research centre, but what is the purpose? I guess maybe we've kind of covered it there, but...
That's what we asked.
Okay,
we went
sorry.
to the harder questions.
Oh, that's why it made so much sense. Got ya. Of course. Thanks, guys. So I guess I'll just have a look at my questions. I don't know. That's a yes. That's exactly what we just said. Okay, so in the TVP, in the Future by magazine, kind of, it was almost like a flyer. Go and look at this movie. It said that he's a peer. This is Jacques, to Buckminster Fuller and Einstein, and I kind of was like, really? Yeah, he met Einstein once. I don't exactly know his connections with Buckminster Fuller, but like, it just seemed a bit like, oh, he's amazing, if you know what I mean, and kind of leading to accusations and stuff that we get of being a cult, which is a conversation I saw kind of this week. I don't know. It's not really a question, I guess. It's just a complaint about the writing style. So, thanks for listening. Let's go on to...
Wait.
Yeah, okay.
I do have to add... because first, it's a complaint. Well, not really. You know, I mean, look, after speaking to many points of contact, it does come apparent that not everybody's walking the talk. By which I mean criticizing the very concept we are here to learn about. Isn't that what Fresco literally got up on stage in Stockholm and told everybody to do? Don't believe anything I say, research, look up, talk to politicians, fucking look through microscopes, touch a weasel's asshole, whatever it may be. You know? And I don't know that many of us do that. So these questions are fucking important, and they're amazing to be had and heard in the first place. Because that, really, first, puts you on the spot to do work. What kind of work? Well, to maybe verify whether this shit is even real. Because, you know, I know for a fact that he claimed he met Einstein, he saw Bucky Fuller, and on multiple occasions. One where he was some like 15 years old, shit like that maybe. Something along the lines of, you know, he was literally talking about social planning and whatever else, but Bucky believed in phrenology. I mean, that was fucked up, but again, I can't verify that. I'd need to dig and deep to find any fucking source. What, did Bucky write? Like, oh, I had some insufficient ideas. Why don't I note those shits down? You know what I mean? I don't know how to find that out. Point being, though, it's important. So what you said, it's not... I disagree. I think you put yourself down by saying, oh, I just don't like the writing style. Nah, man, it gives straight assertions. It gives declarations, which must be questioned, must be researched. Now, I haven't done fucking research. I'm just harping on about how people who really care, such as I suppose I really should, and fucking point of contact. but I don't have an answer to verify or disprove the clarity or no validity rather of those assertions. And also, peer. It says right here from who the fuck are these people? I don't know, some link or another. Essentially says a peer is a person of the same age, status, or ability as another specified person. So if he's a peer to Einstein and Bucky, maybe, you know, again, like what scales are we fucking weighing them on? And then Einstein, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Because according to Fresco, he sat down and with this amusing German accent of his recreation, he said, "You are interested in mathematics." You know, when Fresco was trying to say, no, as a tool, motherfucker, like, let's build a better world. And all that other stuff about socialists, don't talk about it, I'll get deported, all that, whatever, you know. But so, I don't know. But these things have to be brought into question and really kind of thought about. Look through archives, which are free. You can look at all these articles from technocrats and all this other shit on the official website of TVP. But I think essentially all I'm describing is work. But you do have to ask these critical questions, such as Andy did, such as Steven alluded to, such as Nick is asking, and Aiden yourself pointed out. It's important.
Is it in Future by Design where Jacques talks about when he met Einstein and questioned, like talked to Einstein about his ideas for, like Jacques Fresco's ideas for socialism, and Einstein was not disinterested, or have I just made that up? For some reason I have it as a memory that he talked to Einstein and Einstein wasn't as interested in the social aspect, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, he talks about it in the 70s and 80s CDs. It's kind of mentioned, but not really, nothing too much made out of it. Probably in the end, what we're looking at is someone who's interpreted it into the magazine. And yeah, it's been checked, but it's probably the first one, so it was less checked. Cool. Let's see, do I have a harder question? Oh yes, this was fun. This was a fun one. So in when Jacques talks about interiors of homes and stuff, he says, you know, like we'll have whole units that just slot into place and kind of connect up, and then they're reusable and modular, like a bathroom unit or a kitchen unit, and these all just kind of slot into place. Which makes sense in our houses, which are rectangular, or you know, with rectangles because they're easily uniform and you can make nice squares and things out of them. But in a dome, where the roof is going to be kind of all different, like if it's in the middle, it's going to be like that. If it's in the edge, it'll be like that. I don't see how those two connect really.
Are you getting all domist?
No.
Surely on the surely like if you look at the shape of a dome and imagine where a door would be and how a door would be fashioned into a dome, then that door could lead to the outside or could lead to another unit, so to speak. I think is the answer. Personally, you know, that's how I'd do it. You know, which is actually is more advantageous than a rectangular shape, because you know, like, yeah, you can stick, you know, an extension on the back of your house or on the side of your house, but you know, essentially on a dome you could stick an extension anywhere because it's circular, so it's got more possibilities than a good old rectangle. But I'm in danger of becoming rectangularist, so I'm going to shut up now.
First of all, before this question was asked, I saw Steve raise a finger, dude. So what, did you have something to say that's not related to this topic?
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about how, let's say, even if Jacques hadn't met Einstein, and it was just to manipulate people into listening to what he had to say, i.e., here's my friend who's Japanese, he saved my life. That kind of, we listened to what he said. Maybe it helps some people listen. I'm not saying that he was lying, I'm just saying either way, it doesn't bother me. Or if I missed something.
Maybe it didn't miss necessarily, but I think you could be opening up a whole can of worms with just I hope you can see, you know what I mean? Don't misunderstand this as an attack. It's very important that you don't think that I'm trying to say your thinking is insufficient in some way. I get it, right? That especially because you use this example of a Japanese kid all being a fictitious lie, right? To get his mother to just try to think for one moment in different terms. But I mean, it's a slippery slope argument, I think, as far as I remember in Demon Haunted World, where Sagan proposes that, you know, to claim something just in isolation, then extend that indefinitely into all areas. So let's say if Jacques just made up, for shits and giggles, majority of these encounters, that would be problematic. And I don't know is the answer, man. I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I have no idea. But I don't think you misunderstood it, no. I think you got it on the nose. But I'm just also saying that careful with such rhetoric, it may get people's backs up so much more than even Aiden said, thinking we're a cult 100%. Sorry, you had your finger up. Okay.
All right, fine. I was thinking about doing this. There's the ongoing chat in the, not the chat, but a comment thread on the Facebook post about some guy got offended because we said Buddhism was a religion. He's basically kind of going, you know, science is just as much a religion as religion in terms of like illogical thinking, and I don't know what was his kind of main kind of argument, I guess.
So, well, essentially his idea was not that science is a religion. First, it started as Buddhism. Just takes into, first of all, I'm not sure, should we cease recording at this stage, or what's going on, or is this a
Well, no, let's not talk about that specific thing. Let's take a question out of that and kind of ask it here. So, is Buddhism and spiritualism and those kind of things still going to be involved in a fully fledged resource-based economy? Or Michael, Mick, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just to answer your question, nobody's going to stop anybody having a religion in a resource-based economy, or as far as I could speculate, you wouldn't stop anybody from having a religion in a resource-based economy. If the question is Buddhism a religion, let's check out, I don't know, world religions. As far as I'm aware, when you go into a library and look up Buddhism, you look in a religion section. That's what we were taught at school. And yeah, I mean, I think he mentioned that, like, yeah, the technology's increasing, but our interaction with each other needs work. And like meditation has been shown to be good for people, which I think is correct in most cases. I just think it's still a religion. I suppose we could check out the definition of religion.
No, I think you're basically what we're all saying, and we're kind of, yeah. But that, to me, that's not the interesting kind of question. in terms of like, is it religion or not? For me, and sorry, Lidish, you've started, so I'll hold back my question because I've written it down. But like for me, I've got a question kind of around this thing, which I'll ask you guys, because actually this is what I was trying to kind of rejig my mind to ask. But Lidis.
Okay, well, I mean, since we jumped, I did actually have an example, albeit I don't fucking know if it's connected in any way logically or scientifically, but rectangular buildings can slot shit in so easily. Dome buildings, is it going to be difficult? My answer, no. Why? Because even now, with the almighty complex body of a human being, such as bones and cartilages and shit, they're now being 3D printed like there's no tomorrow. If we're talking about a fucking furniture, I'm pretty sure that's a little bit easier to do than your homunculus or whatever the fuck the bones are called. You know what I mean? That's actually, I'm pretty sure that's part of the brain, so I'm a bit ignorant. But there you go. Long way to go to clarity, I guess. Anyway, that's my answer for the furniture in irregular shaped homes. Right, spiritual, Buddhism, all this shit. Is it a religion? First of all, dictionary.com, a religion originated in India by Buddha Gautama, later spreading to China, blah, 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 blah. Otherwise subject. Religion. I don't see it any different than anything else. The point being, the guy, what he said about this religion, non-religion, blah, 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 concept called Buddhism is what matters, which is, and I can paraphrase, it takes into account all aspects, all points, all knowledge. And it tries to fucking do something with them. Now, when I think Mick countered him by saying, look, rockets aren't launched by spirituality, your homes aren't heated by meditating, nor is your medicine devised by chanting. Science seems to be pulling the strings behind those inventions. So when you're asking a thing to project into a future, will things like this exist? Well, I can't foresee that. If educational system in its core has a scientific principle as the core guiding mechanism of how you investigate your relationship to people, the planet, and animals, and material sciences and shit like that, then you start to ask questions. By critical, I'll try to be as referential as possible. By critical thinking, I mean to ask logically sound questions and produce logically sound arguments. And there's, why I even mentioned Carl Sagan's Demon Haunted World is he has this, baloney detection kit. And essentially he talks about fallacy related to, therefore it's caused by, that's a fallacy. Correlation is not causation, otherwise known as. Shit's like black and white thinking or false dichotomy, meaning there's only black or white, good and bad. If it's not great, then it's wrong. Shit like that, right? Whereas we know there's a continuum of gray areas. So imagine this kind of thinking. And then you're told a dude meditated under a fucking tree for 100 years or whatever the mythology is, and then he wanted truth. Talk to a kid who knows about logical thinking and tell him the word truth. What are you talking about? Relativity exists. What kind of truth do you possibly wish to tell me about? And meditation. Meditation is one thing. How you're doing it, what are you imagining? You know what I mean? All that shit. I mean, it is one thing. But then believing that third eyes and the other stuff is going to be balancing out your chakras, or okay, but then, so what do we do? How do we test it out? And if we understand the testing methodology is exactly what we're talking about in science, and not that everybody should bow on fucking Friday evenings to thank Einstein for his work, then we understand that we just want life to be better for everybody. And since we see that a lot of people chant, but a lot of people die, and medicine seems to work, and heating is in fact physically conductive material that moves through space and time to warm our bodies up, then maybe let's use that system, because it seems to be quite a guarantee. You know what I mean? Cause and effect. That's my thinking. I might be overzealous, I might be all fucked up and wrong, but you gotta point me out when I am.
No, it's alright, man. Like, I get what you mean. You reminded me. I've got that book at the bottom of my thing. I need to reread it. So yeah, one thing that I don't know if anyone saw my response because I ignored all that side of the discussion. Basically, the one thing that I picked up on him, which is more of a generic question actually, which we could ask, is probably in the FAQs if they were on the website, is kind of he thinks that science today is shit. Like he's seen, climate deniers and, scientists backing tobacco to be healthy, and 2 eggs and bacon or whatever it is for the morning is good for you, all that stuff. And he goes, look, the scientific method is wrong. And I will make the definition here that it's science today. We're not talking about the scientific method. Science today, what's the challenges that kind of causes things like that?
I'd say we're back to money again. When it comes to corruption, you pay somebody enough, they'll say anything, and they'll do a good job of making things look like something is the way it's not. So yeah, I think he has got a point with science today, and I think it does need to improve. But for me, I can't see how philosophy kind of improves it. I feel like philosophy is not really tangible.
Yeah, I mean, what Mick said, money. Yeah, until someone pays me to give a different answer. I mean, everything today is corrupt. Because profit-based society, that's what it produces. So, there's what the chap's saying about science, being corrupt. He's got a point from where he's looking. When we can understand that. Like I've got an aunt who's a cousin who's a devout Christian, and although she would say, yes, in the religious sense, she believes in God, yada yada yada, I'd say she's a devout Christian, almost not in the religious sense, because she's actually nice. She's honest, So, from my point of view, she is a good Christian woman within the purest definition of what it's supposed to be. She's not like, I go to church on Sundays and I'm a complete twat for 6 days a week. So she's like walking the life that goes with it, and that's the thing. In today's society, anything can be considered corrupt, and not functioning as it should, like I don't know, religion itself, the God myth, etc. I mean, like, we can look at it scientifically and go like, yeah, well, we can see that this is like silly, but within the concept of what it's supposed to provide to people, well, it wouldn't be the thing that's causing all the wars on the planet, would it? But add money to religion, you get wars. Add money to science, you get bad science. It's just all about money, sadly.
Cool. So I'm just trying to find. So I just want to talk a little bit about confirmation bias. So this is a psychological thing. It seems to be wired into our brains, although they haven't got down to the real science. So it does still sit in the realms of psychology rather than kind of real empirical science. but it's basically the concept of if you're looking for a certain answer, you will see that answer, and you'll block out answers that contradict to that answer. And of course, that is where the money really comes in. It's not people really actually going, yes, I'm going to fudge this, yes, I'm going to... It's, your livelihood comes from that. And kind of underneath it all, you'll start finding things that confirm what you're thinking about. And what was his name? There's a really good book on that, as well as a whole lot of other things, and I'm just getting the link here. It's called Risk by The Science of Politics of Fear by Dan Gardner, and it's really good in kind of explaining these various psychological things that kind of go into motivating certain people's behaviors and how it's, if you want to get annoyed, it will show you where you're being manipulated in the media, basically. But it also shows how, like, even reporters and stuff, this confirmation bias ends up hurting people when it comes back to money, our differential advantage. So the flip side of it is scientific method in RBE, where your only differential advantage is to gain your kind of like standard of living, which will be equal to everyone else's. So that confirmation bias thing, yeah, it can still lead you astray, but the underlying cause is that you want to improve your life and everyone else's, rather than you want to improve your own life. So I think scientific method would look quite science today compared to, in 200 years in a fully fledged RBE being commenced tomorrow will be very different. Thanks, guys. Next.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Wait, first of all, yeah, I did put an asterisk down, but fuck it. Johnny, yo, you got something to say, man?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add something to the whole Buddhism and religion discussion that kind of drifted off from that. My sense of things is that people tend to have this fear of science as being the enemy of religion in some sense, and both, like we were all talking about Einstein a while ago. The way he viewed science and spirituality linked. He viewed like kind of the future of spirituality, the real blossoming of spirituality coming through science. You can only be part of and in tune with the wholeness if you know it through the best methods that you can that you have found out until that point. And there was this phrase that I can't remember if I think it was an interview or some video in which Peter Joseph was talking to Jacques and Roxanne, and they were talking about kind of activism and science as being the applied form of spirituality. So there's this, I think some of the times we get stuck into trying to approach things rationally and logically when you're talking to a religious person or of a person of any belief, and you create this dichotomy that's not really there, that's not really in our intention. And I just try, no one is going to, I think people feel that they're going to lose their spirituality, that religion will be taken away from them by force, and it's precisely the opposite of that. I mean, if you will feel that through education, if getting to find out new things about the world around you and getting closer to science, if you feel that by doing that you're drifting away from dogma, then fair play. If not, we're not here. I think I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think I can speak for everyone that we're not here to take away your liberties of expression, of religion, of faith, of whatever you feel like doing. This is not what it's all about, is it? I mean, you guys stop me if if I'm just rambling on, if I'm just projecting too much. All right, I hope
That's a
that
fair and accurate.
kind of made sense.
You bang on the money.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, who's sorry, Johnny, you got some additions? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. No, you're completely correct. That's the whole idea. It's you can kiss, I don't know, horseshoes dropped on the little pin when they play fucking games or whatever it is. It literally doesn't matter. It's just, does your thing, belief in the ellipses, hurt anybody or anything? Well, then maybe don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was this. It's like this picture that I saw online once, and it said if your religion or system of belief or philosophy or whatever you want to call it causes division between you and your fellow humans, then you better start asking yourself questions, or stay away from that when you read about it, when you see it, when you come across it. And there's also that point of applying your beliefs, applying your, okay, you have good intentions. They're welcome, they're beautiful, they're necessary, but they don't seem to be sufficient. So yeah, okay, you want to do good, come on over. let's work on it. Right? It's not if not, it's just that, what was it called? How did they name it? I forget. Some sort of, and I don't want to be dismissive to whoever's listening or will see this ever, but it's a bit of wishful thinking. It's this verbal masturbation. Why can't we all be friends and so on? Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a very good question. Why indeed can't we? Let's look at it the best way we can and see what solutions we can come up with. And if the first one doesn't work, try to improve it. Try to look at it from a different angle and so on. Don't give up, and keep those connections that you're looking for. Or even if you find yourself thinking kind of at the pole of what the other person's thinking.
Sorry, I was waiting for Aiden to give me a go ahead or deny me access to next word asterisk and all. Okay. I was hoping that if somebody wants to interject, you do with what Johnny said, because it was very on point. I would say really well stated. I only put an asterisk because I had some further thoughts about the confirmation bias, and I remember Chomsky speaking about this exact concept, and him actually talking about his own confirmation bias, how he does seem to tend to read books that he already knows he may like. Which, I mean, fuck, like what? Surely isn't a scientist's job is exactly that, through grunt work, psychological and neurological, to go through barbed wire of unpleasant, so to speak, contradicting to our values information, and to hear what the other people, what the other perspectives have to say and, share. Yeah, look, don't get me wrong, right? I do get fucking sick in the stomach reading how people with zeal say that boost the economy, fucking more jobs, and they have books on these fucking concepts. right? How to be the leader in your business, you fucking, you know what I mean? But then am I essentially an asshole saying be scientific, but then part of science is to basically read the arguments of the quote opposition and then see on the grounds of their argument whether or not the shit works or not. You know what I mean? How do we know that even these books that we're sharing names of aren't based on, well, it sounds better. Well, I prefer it. Oh, well, that's something my friend said, so it's probably going to be good. You know, how are we not caging ourselves in this corner? Go ahead, dude.
I can have a go with that. I think there's this assumption that every opinion is a valid opinion and has equal weight and importance, and however you want to call it. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case, and we all know it intuitively. If you start asking yourself questions like, when I have a problem with my tooth, do I go to a mechanic? Well, no. You know that he will know very little about that particular area that you're interested in. And the same with this. That's precisely it with the scientific method, because you're trying to. It's difficult to kind of tackle this issue verbally when you always have to go back to this label of science, scientific. All right, let's just not call it anything. Let's try and go back to the beginning, in a sense, and think, okay, well, religion and philosophy, and they were all kind of intertwined at first, and then science came about. I mean, in its actual form. In the past, what is it, 200 years roughly, and we have gotten to this place through trying to better our thinking, and it's precisely that flexibility of science and that always questioning itself that allows it to come up with and the methodology and the empirical side of it, that allows it to come up with concepts and theories and natural laws that you can build on top of. It's not anything that's being proposed by anyone is just thrown out there and you just hope for the best of it. It's not how we came to find out about science. So it slowly got chiseled by us bettering and bettering this process. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So yeah, it's if you want to understand why science works better at gaining knowledge and sieving it and analyzing it, go and that's why we recommend these books. It's not so that you can. It's not like, okay, you read the Bible. Have you read the Quran? It's not just coming up with a new philosophy, and your point of view is just as valid as my point of view, and this whole relativity when it comes to morality. I think you've heard of this. You must have heard about this as well. All right, I'm going to shut up now.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how much I understood. I understood some. I understood that through science, hopefully you will be able to catch out when you stumble logically and then whatever, correct yourself. Unfortunately, you're human, so you may not want to because that's hurting your ego, as people know this thing. All right.
Yeah, but it's something that allows you to go beyond yourself. That's the point I was trying to make through the comparison with, the Bible, the Quran, the Old Testament, that the Jews have. I mean, I lost my thread. Sorry.
That's fair enough. Just in closing, I would like to say that all of this stems from in orientation. Um, come on, give me a break. Yes, okay, Feynman. So when Feynman talks about science, and he says he had a conversation with a layman, and then talks about maybe combinations to a lock safe, he says that he reads these letters just to make sure, and that's the whole key, you know what I mean? That whole just to make sure part is so fucking dreadfully boring sometimes. I gotta go through history. Jacques said that such and such blocked such and such from getting rubber. Fuck, is it true? God damn it. But you have to. Otherwise, what you're doing is hearsay, and then I'm just repeating it to you. Then it's all on trust. Fuck trust. It's knowledge, and if it's knowledge that we want, we got to go through all this. So does the system in banking and Federal Reserve really work the way that we keep hearing? Oh, well, where do we even go for valid information? That's another fucking topic. But so that's all I'm describing. It's
Yeah,
constantly difficult process.
that was the thread that I lost. Objectivity is going beyond your belief, your personal point of view. You know, can you come up with something that is valid outside of yourself? And this is the closest approximation to the truth that we have managed to birth up until now, like as a humanity, as a species.
I got nothing else to add, man.
Well, you were saying just now about what did you just say about science and money and being corrupted? What did you just a minute ago?
That wasn't me.
Sorry.
We going back to what I was saying like a while back.
No, Ludus just mentioned something just a second ago, but I lost it. Never mind.
Federal Reserve, fractional reserve banking. No.
Yeah. Oh, right. No, you were talking about having to check facts, having to always check things out. Well, you're forced to do that in our world, because at the basis of it all, we are divided. There's not a blanket of trust. It's not supported by our structure, by the way we have constructed society. So I think you can't, our brains at the moment at least, can't process that much information. You're always having to go and check facts. You can't live your life like that. We don't have that much, that capability, in my view. So it's okay to specialize, but as long as you have collaboration. When you have those two elements, then something beautiful will flourish. But if you're always pitted against one another, then yeah, you're forced to always go and check on what the other said, and it's always a competition. It's always, you know, the bigger fish.
It's very well put, and I think maybe we'll kind of leave it there because Stephen's got his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a lot of the areas where we're talking about having to check facts is because they're not facts. Like, so if something's become a scientific theory and it's well known as a fact, and it's been like that for a long time, then you know it's pretty much like things about gravity. No one's going to check about how fast the ball's traveling. You know, those kind of things. We know that's a fact. But when we're talking about things like someone might be talking about a different theory to B.S. Skinner, that's because it's based around psychology, and we're not really the psychology is even a science properly. So how can you have facts, scientific facts? They're all just kind of vague hypotheses that we think seem to reflect reality better. Or when we're talking about some of these people were saying this seems to be how it is, but it's not a fact. So that's why we've got to go and check more often. But there's certain areas where we don't have to go and check them, aren't there? I think we'd agree on that. So, and then the more vague the thing becomes, the more often you have to go and check, because it's not a fact. It's just something that we think. What does anybody think about that?
Well, I would like to see automated testing of gravity every day. I would like to see that. You know, if we can set up the systems, the things that we take for granted, what happens if one day they change? I'd rather know about it than suddenly it creeps up. We don't really know about how gravity really works yet. So that's one thing that I would love to check every day. Okay, Nick, sorry, you can crack on. I need to head off though, so I'm going to stop the recording. If you guys want to just keep chatting away, that's absolutely fine. Next week we have the Activism Hangout, and we'll be talking about our project for the Best That Money Can't Buy library donation. I haven't seen it yet, but if anyone wants to have a look at the third tab, there's a library donation tab in our schedule. So this is where you can put in information for your local libraries, and that would be really good if you can go and have a look and just get your local library information and put it in there for next week's hangout, and then we can just send like an email to all of them or a letter to all of them in one go. Just makes everyone's lives easier. So thanks for a great discussion, everyone. In 2 weeks we'll be doing another one of these, and what I was going to say is that we're going to go on to the discussions about capitalism in those ones. So that'll be good to come back to. Cool. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you all later.